this episode, yours truly is in the hot seat. Previous guest Kevin Bright takes the reins and asks the question. Welcome to my Corvette story. Enjoy the show.
We're in my shop. This is awesome. I'm glad we can do this. I have been so excited from the time that you filmed me, and I've been able to share the word with other Corvette owners, so more's coming, I promise you that.
Well, thus far, your video is the highest viewed video. Granted, there aren't a whole lot up there yet, but everybody...
Got 1 out of 1.
Yeah. No, there's two. There's two, but still, it's pretty awesome because, I mean, yours is like double what the other one was. So, and once we get the re-edited director's cut version up there, I think it's going to be really,
well, I really appreciate your patience and willing to adjust it for me.
Oh, no, no problem. We saw a need to. So
yeah, it's good. Well, I'm really excited to have you here. This is a story that needs to be told. It honestly is. I see a lot of Corvettes come through my shop, so more are coming. Everybody, I mention it to each one of them. So, but this is the highlight. I'm glad to have you here, Carl.
Thank you.
And we get to talk about your story behind your cars. These are beautiful cars we have here.
Thank you.
So I'm really thankful that you're here and can help out. So let's get started with you, Carl. I want to hear the backstory on how these cars came into your life and how specifically the Corvette sparked an interest in you, got your passions going. So I'm going to turn it over to you and kind of start from the very beginning.
Well, thank you, Kevin, and thank you for having us in your shop. This is really, it makes it so much more fun to have a place to shoot that is in line with what we're doing about cars and especially the Corvette. And of course, your beautiful 1958 Corvette sitting out there. So the passion for me with Corvettes began when I was probably 17 or 18 years old in high school. And I remember seeing the first car that I identified with as a Corvette. It was this exact body style, so it had to have been a 1980 or a 1981. I graduated high school in 1981.
Okay.
And that was the first time I was able to connect what a Corvette was. I hadn't really ever heard of them before then. At that time, I already had a 1969 Camaro, an SS RS Camaro. It was a piece of junk car, but it was, it was my high school car. It was a lot of fun. And
split chrome bumpers?
No,
was it a solid?
No, it was the 69 Camaros were the third year of the first generation of Camaro.
Okay.
And they had a little bit of body styling update, but I think they looked the best. But so when after I graduated from high school and I was working one night, my best friend called me up on the phone. He goes, "Did you notice that Corvette for sale in the newspaper?" That's before we had cell phones.
That's the newspaper. right.
And I said, "I did." He goes, "Well, let's go drive it." And I go, "Oh, they're not going to let a couple of teenage boys drive it." He goes, "Come on, let's go drive it." So we did. We went out to go see what the lady was asking for it. And
so it was a private owner.
It was a private owner. It was a 1969 Cortez Silver. And she handed us the keys and let us go for a drive. And
do you remember the specs on it? Automatic, stick shift?
Yeah, it was a 350 with the 350 horsepower, and I think it was 370 foot-pounds of torque for it. It was a close ratio 4-speed, Muncie 4-speed.
Okay.
It was beautiful. It shifted so nice and smooth, and it was just a fun car. We took it for a drive. I was hooked.
Really?
I was hooked. I did everything in my power to find a way to buy that car. And my dad, of course, was like, "Well, you don't need another car." And I'm like, "Well, but that's not the reason. That's not the point. I really like this car." Then I had that car for probably about 2 or 3 years before I blew the engine up in it.
Let's go back. How much did you pay for it?
I paid $5,000 for that car.
I was going to say in the high 4s, low 5s would have been perfect in the 80s.
Yeah,
but that was pricey back then. $5,000.
It was. Yeah, $5,000
was a lot of money for us high schoolers. It really was.
Absolutely. Yeah, you bet. So, and unfortunately, I wasn't very mechanically inclined at that point. I mean,
had you worked on your Camaro?
I had, but not very much. It was such a piece of junk, and I was so excited to have it. I just wanted to drive it. I didn't really learn much about things that worked with it. And so, believe it or not, I never changed the oil in that Corvette. Never changed the oil once in that Corvette. Never checked the oil level in that Corvette, and I blew the engine up. So I learned from there, obviously, and decided in my mind that, well, you got to learn this kind of stuff because if you don't, your cars are going to cost you a lot of money.
Yep.
So I ended up learning how to rebuild an engine all on my own.
Oh, nice.
So that taught me a lot.
I remember those days.
Yeah, absolutely. It taught me
I had that idiot book, the big green one. That
I didn't have an idiot book.
Yeah, I
just had a good friend who said, "Well, you need to do this, you need to do this,
there
you need to do this." Yeah. The engine wasn't salvageable at all. I had to put a new block in it and everything. So, and then I wasn't working and not making payments, and the bank repossessed that car.
Oh.
And I decided from then on out that I was never going to pay anything but cash for another Corvette.
Right.
Because there was nobody taking it from me ever again.
Oh, that must have been a sad day.
Yeah, it was a sad day. It was a sad day. So the next Corvette that came along was a 1977, and I got that one in 1991.
So how long did you have the silver one?
I had it for about 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit for those who aren't that familiar with Corvettes. There's generational.
Correct.
So this version is
This is the C3, the third generation.
Third generation.
And so was the 69. The third generation began in 1968 and ended in this year for these two cars.
These are
both 1982s.
82s. So 68 through
68 through 82 for 15 years.
For 15 years.
It's the longest running generation.
I was going to say, that seems...
Well, it was a good seller. They were sexy, fun cars. Granted, during the mid 70s, early 80s, they didn't have any power because the emissions.
Oh yeah, 70s was a tough generation for cars.
Absolutely, it was very tough.
The gas. Remember the gas. The problems that we had getting fuel. People were stealing gas, and all the big blocks were now coming down. All the emissions were getting added. Power. They were just sucking the power out of everything.
Yeah, compression ratios dropped like a rock.
Yeah, they had to meet EPA standards and stuff like that. So
by the time I got the 1977 Corvette, it was a beautiful orange. And it made me fall in love with orange Corvettes. Yeah. And I had that one for a long time, and I bought this one in 1992. So a year later, I bought this one. So I've had this car for 31, almost 32 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and I held on to the orange one for quite a while. This one was in an accident. And I had a friend that helped me fix it. We bought a whole brand new clip and put it on.
The whole front end.
Whole front end, yeah. And then another friend painted it for me.
Now these are, for everybody, these are all fiberglass.
All fiberglass.
Day one, they have a metal frame, but the whole body.
The whole body.
All the way up to today. Maybe now it's all carbon fiber.
There's a lot of carbon fiber, but there's still
no metal
fiberglass
in a Corvette other than the frame.
Correct.
And the supporting structure. So any Corvette that you see is not going to have any rust on it from the outside. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people like them because of that very fact. So it's pretty nice. We just purchased a whole clip, got it put on. Another friend of mine painted it, and the same friend, we're going to repaint this car again here in the next couple of weeks because I had this accident where this is right here. So we're going to repaint the entire car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And this is the original color?
This is the original color. And
what is that white? It's
called Tuxedo White.
Tuxedo White.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So this was number 3. The orange one, 77, was number 2. And then about 5 years ago, I purchased another 1982 collector's edition. Because that's really my ideal Corvette. I really like the 1982 collector's edition. They did the 82 collector's edition because that was the last year of this body style. They kind of went out with a bang.
What did they make? What made that different?
They had a special bronze silver paint job on it with decals that were on the hood and on the sides here. The interior was the same bronze silver interior, and the back window popped open. That was the big thing. That was the big thing about that, because the next year when the C4s came out, all of them had the pop-up rear window.
Yes, that's correct.
So it was kind of, and they do that with Corvettes. They kind of introduce some options a year before, especially when they change generations. They'll do that a lot.
Yeah.
So, but at the time, I had this one in the garage. The interior was ripped out of it. I wasn't driving it. And I said to myself, what am I doing buying another car? Because the collector's edition needed work. Both mechanically and interior, it needed work. And it needed a paint job as well, too. And I said to myself, I'm wasting my time and money working on that car when I could be working on this car. So I sold it.
Oh, okay.
I wish now I'd held on to it. Because by the time I dug into this one and got the interior redone, I thought, oh, that's easy. That wasn't hard to do at all.
Well, you don't know at the time.
Right.
And still in the late 80s, prices were affordable. They weren't through the roof. It was probably still pricey on that.
Well, yeah, the base model was $18,000. The collector's edition was just over $20,000, and that was the first time Corvettes had gone over $20,000 in price.
And back in the 80s, that was crazy price.
I paid $10,000 for this in '92, so it was 10 years old by the time I bought it.
Yeah.
I paid $10,000 for it. I paid $8,000 for that one back a little less than a year ago.
Okay.
So I got a really good price on that.
We're going to get down to the nitty-gritty on all these mileage, engine size, what do you like, all that. So.
Absolutely. So yeah, so I sold that 82 collector's edition, and I decided to get my butt in gear and get the interior to this one all put back together, and actually had a lot of fun doing it. Really enjoyed it. Started getting into the groove of being a Corvette owner all over again.
There you go.
It felt good, and Then this one came up for sale on KSL.com soon after I got this one finished, because I thought, well, heck, I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And I got such a good price on that one, and I redid the interior in that one as well. And now I'm back to owning 2 Corvettes again, which is what most of the time I've had 2 Corvettes my adult life.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of nice because, if you're working on one, you can drive the other one, or,
Yeah.
That's my excuse, right?
And
so,
if something breaks, you have
right.
another one. Yeah. My son is the same. He has 2 of the identical cars.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he's like, oh, I need this for that, and I'll replace that, get it going. So, wow. All right, so let's go. I want to hear more about the passion, the deep inside passions when you started looking at this model of Corvette, collecting them as a toy. Tell me more about that. Like,
I
age?
love the looks of this generation of Corvette, and I think for a lot of people, even to this day, younger people, they recognize this immediately as a Corvette because of the body lines. And it was very iconic. Even back then, it's still an iconic shape. And a lot of people, they had the Stingray started in 1963. Mm-hmm. They dropped the name in 68, the first year of this generation. They brought it back in 69 and kept it all the way through 76, and then dropped it from 77 forward until 2014.
Yeah.
But people still look at this and think Stingray. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they'll stop me in the car part store when I pull up. Is that a Stingray? And I'm going like, well, yeah.
Yeah. Did they have the side pipes? Was that their?
69 was the only year that they came stock. Now, a lot of people do put them on, obviously, because of that look. And 68, 69, in my opinion, are the best looking generation C3 Corvettes with side pipes. But people put them on all years.
Okay.
But I like side pipes, but I don't know that I want to deal with the heat.
Yes.
I just don't know that I want to deal with the heat.
There is give and take with those.
Absolutely. I mean, if you could do faux side pipes so that it looked good, then maybe that'd be an option. But for the most part, I don't. They do, because side pipes look really sharp on these cars. And once I got used to driving a Corvette, everything I drive after that is a Corvette, whether it's my Prius, whatever it is. Everything I drive, I think I'm driving a Corvette. And so the feeling when you get behind the wheel of these cars and you look over that long hood and those humps are over the side, it never ends.
It is a narrow view.
I never get tired of seeing it, ever. I get in the car, I shut the door, and I go, yeah. And that's what I like about it. And for the time, these were just like now. They were kind of the top of the line when it came to technology and feel and looks. And I always thought it felt like a fighter pilot cockpit to me. And that's one of the things that I've always loved.
Looking over the hood of that,
absolutely,
see the fenders.
Yeah.
Can't see the front of the car.
Can't see the front of the car.
It's a little challenge.
There's 3 feet of car you can't see.
Right, and you're trying to park in a tight spot. Sometimes
absolutely,
it can be a challenge.
For sure. So and I think white's become my new favorite color. I mean, this one over here is silver on white.
Classic.
I love the 2 tone paint jobs on these generation of these later years. They didn't have them on the earlier years, but I really like it. But I like the pure white as well too.
So as a child, as a kid, when did the car thing start connecting with you?
Well, my dad always was buying and selling cars.
Okay.
The whole time I was growing up. I mean, I remember when
these unique cars.
Well, as I got older, they seemed to get a little bit more unique. But I don't know what came along before me, because I've got older brothers and sisters that are 13, 14 years old, older than I am.
Yeah.
And so, but by the time I remember anything about Dad engaging in his car passion, he had traded in our Biscayne station wagon.
There you go.
For a Kingswood estate, and that was the first time I was able to really process what it meant to buy a car, because I'd never really.
What year was that?
Well, the Kingswood was a 71, and we bought it used, so it probably was 72, 73.
Another station wagon?
Yeah.
Third row, back facing.
Yeah, with the clamshell doors that open up.
Waving at everybody.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And to me, the whole idea, I thought it was just the fanciest car in the world. The automatic doors and windows.
Yeah.
I thought it was super fancy, and that's kind of what started me getting into noticing other cars. And then at that point, I started really noticing Monte Carlos. I really liked the Monte Carlos. I just thought they were a snazzy car. Every time we drive by the car lot, I'd just get an Eiffel, and I couldn't get an Eiffel.
I had a 78 Monte Carlo.
Oh, I loved Monte Carlos. I never had one though. So that's when I really started getting into cars. And then when I bought my '69 Camaro, I think I was a junior in high school when I first bought it. And I bought it from a friend whose brother was selling it. And like I say, it was just a piece of junk, but I didn't care. I just didn't care. I wanted a car. Then by the time I recognized, like I said, that what a Corvette was to begin with, I started thinking more along sports car lines. So I'd already bought the Camaro, then we went and drove the Corvette, and I bought that, and it's been my passion ever since. Just ever since, it's never stopped. Once I lost that first Corvette to the bank, I swore that I would never ever have the opportunity to lose one again. Nobody would ever take my cars from me again, and that's been the case.
That's a hard story, but at the same time, it really built a strong foundation of what you are going to do going forward. I mean, it was resolute. Like, this will never happen to me again, and it hasn't.
Nope.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a tough lesson, but we need those.
We need those lessons.
We need those lessons to just ground us into our core values of what will and will never happen again. So.
For sure. Yeah. Well, it makes life more enjoyable.
Yeah, it really does.
Because you don't go through so much heartache and so much angst about the way things turn out for you. So and keeping a car that you're passionate about, it's almost irresponsible to lose. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I owe it to the car.
Right. So during my process of rebuilding the interior of this car, and then of course buying that car, is when I started getting my head wrapped around something that I've always had a passion for too, was I wanted to do something more with or about Corvettes that used my passion as a means of generating income and making it my hobby.
Right.
So I've always been interested in videos. I was in videography in high school. Okay. Back then it was
yearbook.
Yeah. No, I wasn't in the yearbook thing.
Okay.
But back then it was Super 8 vid.
Yeah, they were the big ones.
Yeah.
Camcorder.
And so I've always had that thought in the back of my head. And of course, when YouTube came along, I'm like, I get to do something with YouTube.
Oh, nice.
And if you get on YouTube, you'll find 100,000 car repair videos.
Yeah.
Same thing with Corvettes, just car repair videos right and left. And I'm not real keen to do a lot of the work on them. I don't mind doing a lot of the maintenance on them. But I thought to myself, I'll just be, the grain of sand on the beach if I do a video like that for YouTube.
Yeah.
I want to stand out. I want to be different. And so I just kind of sat on that for a while and just didn't really think too hard about what it was I could do differently. And then finally I came up with this idea after doing a really intense week of meditation. I said, you know what, I'm gonna let it come to me. I'm not gonna force it.
There you go.
I'm not gonna push the rope.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let it come to me. And by the end of the week, I had the answer. It was to do fully vetted. This is interview number 10. I think so. This is interview number 10 thus far. The first 5 we couldn't do.
Oh.
We couldn't make videos out of them.
Oh.
So
how long? When did you start? When did you launch it?
The Twilla Car Show was the first of the summer, and that's when we did our first 4 interviews. They had a bunch of people show up with Corvettes.
So it's months old.
Yeah.
Not even 6.
No, not even 6 months old. The idea is, but the actual implementation of the stuff is very, very new. Our first real interview was with Lynn, and he's up there on the YouTube page. You were our second real interview.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about that story.
Okay.
So you stopped by and gave me your card, and I was probably nonchalant. I get a lot of feedback from the car. I'm happy to talk about it, but it didn't go to the top of my must-do list. And it took call after call, and then Rachel stepped in, and she got a couple of calls in, and I still was pretty back on my heels. And I probably because of my work schedule, I'm very busy. And what a missed opportunity had I not done anything. So I appreciate your passion. You kept going in the right direction. You didn't offend me. It wasn't a hard push. Rachel wasn't a hard push. Just a reminder, hey, I'm waiting for a call back. Let's get this done. And I think one day you just came by, or maybe it was Rachel, and said, when are we doing this? Like, we're doing this.
Right.
Let's start talking dates. And that's all it took. I get the impression that it's aesthetics for you. You're not a mechanic. You don't dream about the horsepower and getting the proper rear end and getting the, the speed out of it. You're okay with that and understanding it and learning it, but the exterior, interior, and the look of the car is what keeps you awake at night, dreaming about what's next.
Right.
Am I correct?
I'm very stock. I like things stock. I don't.
And these are beautiful stock. That's the nice thing. You don't have to change the wheels, add a different look to it, add a suspension to get the look that you're really. I mean, off the showroom floor, they're gorgeous.
Absolutely. I don't mind upgrades as long as you can't see them.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, for example, I've converted this one all over to electric fans.
Okay.
Because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll gain a horsepower or a horsepower and a half. But it does cool better for sure. It really helps, because these this year of Corvette, the 1982s, they all came with the same engine and the same transmission. There were no options, and it was the first year for the 4-speed transmission, and it was the first year for the throttle body injection. And it was the throttle body is kind of like a cross between a carburetor and fuel injected.
And they do cross.
And and they put it, and then the next year they put it on the Camaros and the Trans Ams and stuff like that. So and on the 305 engines, and I guess on the Camaros and the Trans Ams, if you upgraded, you got a 350.
Okay.
But and so, what I would really like to do to this car is I would like to be able to put a little bit different cam in it.
Yeah.
And get a little bit more horsepower out of it. There are some better heads that flow better, for sure. The intake manifold for these Crossfires, a third of the intake manifold is shut off.
Yeah, they're not.
They just don't breathe.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how can you? But they still have 200 horsepower, at the rear wheels, which I'm surprised they get that much. So I've got me an extra manifold that I'm going to port, and then I'll get some heads, and that way it'll still look stock. And people won't know it. It'll sound.
You want a different sound? I mean,
I love the way they sound.
You like the way?
I love the way they sound. I think they sound really, really nice. So that's what I plan on doing to this one. I don't know how long I'm going to keep the other one. I am going to get it painted. We're going to repaint it. I did have to have the transmission rebuilt in it, and
it's a manual or automatic?
It's an automatic. They're all automatics.
Automatic.
Yeah, they're all in the 82s. They're all automatics. And the 700 R4s they just weren't very durable back then. But now they've got enough technology to upgrade them that they're doing a lot better job on them. So I've had this transmission and this one rebuilt twice already. It's hard to say about that one because I think I'm the 4th owner of that one. I'm the 3rd owner of this one. Yeah, 3rd owner of this one. But I get emotionally attached to them.
Oh yeah,
I get emotionally attached to them. I can't let go of them. I mean, the letting go of my 77, I sold it to the guy that helped me put the new front end clip on here because he wouldn't take any money from me. So I sold it to him for a really good price.
Yeah.
And
he still has it?
No, I went and looked for it. So
there's too many of those stories.
Yeah. So I put it out there on Facebook. If you guys know anybody that owns a 77 Corvette, it's got a little bit of a ding on the driver's side. If you find it, let me know.
There you go.
I'd love to buy it back. So we'll see.
And the picture on your logo, the fully vetted.
Well, it's a yellow Corvette for one thing.
Yellow.
And this is before we did your interview.
Yeah.
I love yellow Corvettes. I think they're really sharp looking. I think we talked about that.
Yep. The colors are always on point. And I wouldn't mix the brand new yellow with the old school yellow. It just doesn't work. So yeah, yellow's on point for the Corvette. They're very free cars that can go with yellow, and Corvette's one of them.
Yeah, for sure. I saw an 81 a while back that was nice bright yellow that had the same interior as this, the slate, and it was sharp.
Yeah.
It was really, really sharp.
Yeah, because that can go with black and slate and brown with the yellow.
For sure.
And that year on the picture?
This is 69.
69. Got the chrome, got kind of a bumper.
Yeah, a little tiny.
Bumper end.
Bumper is what they call them, yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful.
But it was perfect. I mean, the styling of the 68 and 69 Corvettes with those 4 gills on the side, I think it was just perfect. By the time
pop-up headlights?
Pop-up headlights, yeah. By the time in 70 and 71 and 72, they went to the funny egg crate looking side gills and up front too. And it just wasn't as appealing.
Yeah.
Just wasn't as appealing.
Yeah, and they got the classic wheels on those too. So
yeah, the rally wheels.
Rally wheels are very nice.
Yep.
I agree. Let's talk a little bit more about the passion behind the Corvette.
Well, when I got the first Corvette, the 69, I became obsessed. And I tend to do that with things. I tend to get pretty obsessed with things. And I start digging in and learning everything about it. I want to know everything. And so at that time, I started collecting Corvette models, the 1/24th size model of every year of this generation of Corvette. And of course, once I got
those at the hobby shop.
Yeah, get those at the hobby shop.
You love those.
Yeah, and then once I got all those, then I started working my way to either end. Well, the C4s hadn't come out yet.
Yeah.
It's still 81, 82, and they hadn't come out yet. So then I started working my way back.
And how many did you collect?
Oh man, I bet you I had 20.
Really?
20 models. Another of this generation that I really want to get, I want to get the collector's edition again as well, but I also want to get the 25th year pace car.
Oh,
black and silver.
Black and silver.
Yeah.
Gorgeous car.
Yeah, beautiful cars.